This is the tragic story of Sphamandla Mthembu, a ranger whose dedication to wildlife protection put him in serious danger. That day he set out to find evidence of poaching near a known elephant grazing area. But how did this dedicated ranger, who is skilled and experienced, end up in a life-threatening situation? Today, we look at the shocking story of Sphamandla Mthembu, whose bravery and commitment left an indelible impression on everyone who knew him. Sphamandla Mthembu, or Spanda, as his friends and fellow rangers called him, grew up in a small village near KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. From a young age, he loved nature and felt deeply connected to the land and its animals. His father worked as a farmer, and his mother, a traditional healer, taught him about plants and natural remedies. These early lessons made Spanda respect the natural world and gave him a strong desire to protect it. As he got older, Spanda decided he wanted to protect wildlife for a living. He trained hard and eventually became a bushranger at the Mzi Game Reserve. Over 8 years, he worked his way up to become a senior officer in the reserve's anti-poaching team. He was known for his sharp tracking skills, his attention to detail, and his steady, calm approach to danger. At home, Spanda was a loving husband and father of 3 young children. Recently, he and his family suffered a terrible loss when his youngest daughter passed away. It was a pain that he carried quietly, and getting back to work in the open air, surrounded by nature, gave him some comfort. For Spanda, protecting wildlife was more than just a job, it was his passion. Whether he was helping a wounded elephant or keeping a watchful eye over endangered rhinos, he was fully dedicated to his work. His colleagues respected him, not just for his skill, but for his heart and courage. Spanda had always known the risks of his job. He was calm and experienced, never one to panic even in the face of danger. But one day, in November 2023, that hard-earned experience met with terrible luck. That November morning began as any other for Spanda and his team. As the first light appeared on the horizon, the rangers were already preparing for their shift. They'd been on edge lately because a local scout had informed them that poachers were moving through the area, targeting elephants. They quickly set out, moving carefully and tracking any sign of human presence in the area. For 2 days, Spanda and his team followed footprints, searched for signs of campfires, and scanned the area for any hint of movement. Early on the 3rd morning, they found fresh tracks leading toward the river. The elephants had gone there for a morning drink, and the poachers had likely followed. Spanda and his team were right behind. Spanda lived for missions like this. He had taken on hundreds of them over the years. He was, after all, the senior ranger with nearly 10 years of experience. Spanda was the team's natural leader, remaining calm under pressure, reacting quickly, and paying close attention to detail. As they neared the riverbank, Spanda took the lead. The ground was soft and wet, and he kept his eyes down, focused on the tracks just ahead of him. But in that moment, his usual sharp instincts missed one crucial detail: a massive gray hippo resting near the water, perfectly camouflaged against the muddy bank. It was an unfortunate oversight, a moment of bad luck that Spanda could not have expected. As he rounded the bend, the hippo was startled and raised its head in surprise. Hippopotamuses are notoriously territorial, particularly males, and this one was not about to back down. Before Spanda realized what was going on, the hippo let out a roar that echoed through the trees, breaking the silence and sending goosebumps through the team just a few yards behind him. Spanda froze. He was only 6 yards away from the hippo, which was much too close. There was no time to run, no chance to escape. Recognizing the danger, he did the only thing he could. He raised his rifle, aimed it, and fired a shot, hoping to scare the beast away. However, the bullet barely grazed the hippo's thick, layered skin. Instead of retreating, the hippo's rage grew, and it charged, hurtling its massive body toward Spanda at deadly speeds. Spanda felt the full force of the impact in a matter of seconds. The hippo's weight threw him down into the muddy riverbank, crushing his ribs, shattering his legs, and trapping him beneath its massive bulk. His body was broken in an instant, and he could barely breathe as the hippo's massive frame pressed down on him, hitting him to the floor. His team could hear the scream, the roar, the gunshot, and the sickening sound of Spanda's body being crushed. They reacted quickly, forming a formation and charging forward with their rifles, raised to save their friend and leader. However, by the time they arrived, the scene had become horrific. The hippo, still angry, was not done. It returned to Spanda's limp body, grabbing him with its jaws and biting down with brutal force. The Rangers opened fire, reloading and shooting round after round in a desperate attempt to stop the animal. But the hippo appeared impervious to pain, its rage blinding it to everything except the man beneath it. It continued to shake Spanda, biting down and roaring in fury. Blood splattered across the riverbank, turning the water red, and the once peaceful scene turned into a nightmare. Finally, after nearly a dozen rounds, one bullet hit its target. It struck the hippo beneath the ear, puncturing its brain, and the animal collapsed, finally becoming silent. But the damage had been done. Spanda's lifeless body remained clenched in its jaws, covered in deep, gaping wounds, and his blood mixed with the muddy riverbank. As one ranger radioed for help, the other two forced the hippo's jaws open, releasing Spanda's body. He was still breathing, though barely. His lungs were full of blood, and with each labored breath, more poured out of his wounds. The team held out hope, attempting to keep Spanda alive until help arrived. But his injuries were too severe. He died within minutes, surrounded by men who looked up to him as a brother. As per the news, the experienced park ranger had at least 9 dire bite wounds from the hippo. In the days that followed, his wife and sons were devastated, as they had lost not only a husband and father, but also a protector and friend. His team, too, felt the weight of his absence. A man who had faced so many dangers and fought so valiantly for the animals he loved, taken not by poachers, but by the very wild he had dedicated his life to protecting. They recovered his rifle later, bent and damaged from the hippo's crushing weight. It was mounted in the Rangers' barracks as a tribute to Spanda. That is a reminder of his bravery, his sacrifice, and the dangers that every ranger faces in their battle to protect Africa's wildlife. And as for the poachers, the commotion had scattered the elephant herd, and with the area swarming with rangers, they disappeared without a trace. His life was a powerful reminder to the delicate balance between man and nature, a line that, once crossed, can sometimes lead to tragedy. Thank you for watching. If you want to know more shocking animal attacks, click on this next video. Don't miss out. Hit the subscribe button for more terrifying stories. Until next time, stay safe.